So, so today talk about the United States, and no, there is something that nobody is talking about. Actually, some people are, but nobody is talking about this. Whenever politics is a thing that I usually stray away from because of how controversial it is. How I tried to do that in 2018, 2017, but I started to stay away from it because it's just controversial. Okay, but we all know Elon Musk talks about birth rates a lot, and some other people as well. But I think there's an article that goes around: is liberalism digging its own demographic grave? Yeah. Says that the UK will be soon at the point where annual deaths outstrip births. A fertility rate births for women. This is in the UK as well. And it's not just the UK, obviously, in America. This is much more obvious as literally every Republican state has more kids. Okay? New York Post here, having kids ranked to be more socially conservative as well. It's different as having one kid, but if the people have like 3, 4, 5 kids, especially, definitely tell they're very conservative. And if you really think about it, those people are going to have kids. Those people are going to have kids, and those people are going to have kids. Especially if they have a high retention rate, or especially if you live in a more rural part of the country. If the person, like, let's just assume that the conservatism has a high retention rate of 70%. Okay, which is probably pretty likely because kids, their minds, they're influenced pretty easily by what the parents say and what the parents think, because the parents are the most influential people in their lives, basically. And basically, if the parents are super conservative, super religious, 70% of the time the kid is likely going to keep that lifestyle. 30% become liberal or apolitical, but they're going to likely keep the conservative lifestyle as well. And we can see here, people who tend to have children are more socially conservative compared to the child with PLs. And we'll always talk about, Darwin, the Darwin Award, and it's funny, and it's so weird too, because, you have these, atheists, they constantly talk about, how it's basically the whole point, of nature, because atheism is based off science. The whole point of living is to pass on your genes, but the people who are passing on the genes are the conservatives as well. Well, and studied that 2,600 people found evidence that people who already have children who are become parents associate with social conservatives as well. USA, which has a pretty low birth rate of 1.6. Yes, our country has a pretty low birth rate, but we all know why America has a pretty low birth rate. Because a lot of liberals are choosing to never have kids once in their life. Never. Okay? A lot of liberals, especially in cities, and having children may make you more conservative, study finds. And as a lot of Gen Z, they're not even in the childbearing. Some already, of course, have kids, but a lot of millennials, typically, that's what happens. A lot of millennials are now in that childbearing phase, and are going to become more conservative simply because they have children. Okay? Especially more than 2. Okay? Having children not growing old makes them more right-wing, especially in the U.S. And this is something that liberals are going to have to fear. Okay? The demographic extinction. Okay? The demographic extinction in America. Okay? These are the people that, they are constantly talk about how, but again, they're not replacing themselves, especially all these, communists, especially. And, they always want, more people to come in America, the immigration stuff, which we'll get into it a little bit, but, if these people are so against having kids, maybe get people who actually want to work, actually want to do stuff that these people don't want to do. It's different if you have if someone has a job they don't like and they don't like working because they don't like the job, or it's just simple. Find another job. It's just that simple. But or try to make a YouTube channel or try to become an influencer. But that's much more harder than actually getting a real job. Okay, that's actually way harder because you have to get followers, you have to get 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time, or 10 million source views as well. But especially in the United States, America is such a unique country, and this is gonna be pretty bad for liberals. And I'm just saying liberals because it's liberals of all races, okay, of all groups, of all walks of life, okay, yeah. And every article says this. 2022, yeah, conservatives are the ones having kids, okay. This is the problem for liberals, okay, yeah. It is a concern. It is now. It used to be both had kids. It used to be that way, but the liberals have become basically anti-kids, anti-family, anti-all this. Of course, still gonna have Loa as well. With the okay, we have this here. Let's assume 100 people. Okay, there's 100 people. Okay, okay, 100 couples. Okay, this group double. This group has around basically enough, enough to double the population here. But we have this group of people, which is the liberals. The population only grows by around 220. Okay, oh, not 220, 170. Okay, let's say it's a 41%, 40% around 40% less. Yeah. Okay, this is a disparity of 40 people. Okay, a 40 people disparity. Okay, and you see a lot of the states that have increasing populations are the conservative states: Florida, North Carolina. So here is the births by state. Okay, yes, New York, Pennsylvania did get more, but look at the states that were getting more, the most. Okay, Texas and Florida had 5,000 more, especially Florida. Florida has a pretty low birth rate compared to places like New York. Okay, Florida has lower birth rates than most of the states, yeah. Okay, but you see, Florida is becoming a bastion of conservatism. Same thing of North Carolina and same thing of Texas. Oh, those are the states that are having more kids. Look at the states that are having less kids of annual change are California and Illinois. Okay, Illinois has less kids than Pennsylvania. Also doesn't help that people are leaving Illinois as well. Does it also help that Illinois, no one wants to live in Illinois? Okay, Illinois is just a boring state. Okay, there's nothing interesting in Illinois. Oh, Ohio gained babies. People are now born in the worst state in America. Congratulations, you're born in the worst and most cursed state in the entirety of the Americas. Congratulations, Ohio. Yeah, you have to deal with, floating people, glitches, people falling out of the map. Okay, it's like the Ohio is the state that the devs forgot to patch. Okay, done with the Ohio jokes. Done with the Ohio jokes. Done with the Ohio jokes. Okay, done with the Ohio jokes. Okay, and we're not even talking about states like Oklahoma, Alabama, and stuff. Okay, yeah. And now we have the Amish. Yep, these people again. These people, Amish. Okay, the Amish have birth rates. Whereas the lower ones is 5. Yeah, that's low for Amish. Okay, low. The low number is 5, and high is 9. Okay, the Amish is and the Amish have a very high retention rate. Just like most conservative groups here, but the Amish have a very very high birth rate. It has not changed whatsoever. Okay. It has gone up and down, up and down, and up and down. You have good years and bad years, but the Amish have basically, stayed the same, basically. Despite everyone else having a low birth rate. The Amish have a very high retention rate, as we all know. The Amish just only increase and increase and increase. And even then, even if they leave, the Amish community, they are still probably more conservative and will still probably have more kids than your average American. Yeah. Yeah. And the Amish birth rate has basically been way higher than, and the old order Amish as well. Even like the Mormons, they have declined and they have a lower retention rate, but the Amish and Mennonites, which have the two highest birth rates in the country, tree essentially are explored. And you have this map here, the meme maps online, where the Mormons become really big and the Amish become pretty big. Even in places like Texas, there's gonna be lots of counties that are gonna be mostly Amish because those are the people who are going to be populating counties and farms in the future. Okay, that's gonna be the future. Okay, a lot of Amish are going to be there in 2100, especially in many rural counties. There's already a couple counties that are majority Amish, and I'll call it probably going to be staying majority Amish as well. Okay, because the Amish have a very high birth rate. They're the ones that are growing the most. Oh, I don't know why I clicked on that one. But yeah, the Amish are the fastest growing population. Even the other groups with the higher ones, like Muslims, Hispanics, and rural, nowhere near the rate that the Amish are growing at in the US. Okay? Nowhere near the amount of kids the Amish are having. Okay? And the Amish are going out of mode, are basically the most conservative and traditional group of people in America. We also have the birth rates. I'm going to try to find the birth rates by Christian sect. But yeah, we have the birth rates by religion. Okay, yeah. And of course, we all know Christians have higher birth rates than atheists. Well, this is no one's surprise because atheists are liberals. Typically tend to be liberals, which conservatives tend to be Christian, and atheists tend to be liberal as well. You also have this one here, total fertility rate of the 28 here. Man, Malta, you're suffering, Malta. Malta's like a tiny island by Italy. I probably have offended the one Maltese person who probably would ever watch my channel, anyways. As well. But of course, we know that in America, we know this one. The growing secular religious fertility divide as well. Okay, people who go to religion more, Western weekly, and non-religious have a significant fertility advantage over these people. Okay, especially as Christian nationalism and Christian populism becomes more and more favored in America. This is the reason why, because religious people have way more kids than non-religious people. The evangelical goals as well, okay, as well have a way higher birth rate than basically other groups of people. Okay. Yeah. We have Pentecostal churches as well and other groups of people in order to grow as well. But the Christian fertility rate is 2.7% birth per woman, which is actually higher than the global average as well. But basically, evangelicals have a way higher birth rate. And of course, the more conservative they are, the more people, yeah. And the people who are, of course, having the least are the atheists. So evangelicals are not well as the secularists as well. So they are at 2.3 in America. But the secularists, which are basically dragging down America's birth rate, because there's way more secularists now than there were in 2000. Okay. You can see that the atheist fertility rate in America is 1.3. This is why the birth rate in America is so low, because the atheists and agnostics birth rates are like 1.3 and 1.2. Okay? 1.3 to 1.2. Okay? Atheists are at risk of dying out, essentially. Atheists are at risk of disappearing from America. Because they're not thinking about the wrong game. Not 10 years, the long-term game. Okay? And you can look at the political sides of this as well. Let's just say this is the 2100 American election. This is excluding any states that could become American states. So, this is based off religious demographics. So, Utah obviously would be a conservative state. Mormons, these states here would have a very high Amish population as well. We're not putting the Greens into calculation here. Okay. Florida, considering the route Florida is going down here. And of course the Dakotas and traditionally conservative states. Except for Kansas, because Kansas is effing weird, and Nebraska is second. And unless there's a trend in the future for cities to become much more conservative. And of course, Wisconsin would be conservative because there'll be a lot of Amish in Wisconsin as well. Well, and of course, Alaska. And of course, you'd have Hawaii. Chicago would probably just become like Detroit, so Chicago is going the way of Detroit, so it'll probably be a swing state, just like how Michigan is now. Okay. The South would basically stay around the same except for Georgia. Because I don't really think that black voting rates would change whatsoever. Virginia as well. I don't think even in 100 years these states will change politically. Okay. Maine might change. Then we have the rest of the states. Okay. Mormons will have a more influence in Nevada as well. And these 4 states, it's very tricky because it really depends on how the path on immigration goes. Does amnesty get passed or does it not? Do the conservatives take over the country as well and basically make these states, these states have an uncertain future, except for California. But these 3 states have an uncertain future. Same thing, Colorado is just a Democrat state. These states are the Democrat states still. But I think the Midwest will become a conservative stronghold, with the exception of Illinois. Because Illinois will depopulate so much, I think by 2100, it might become a swing state. And North Carolina, I could add another category for swing states. Might as well. We'll make them purple. They're often called purple states. So Kansas, Illinois, North Carolina, Virginia, New York. Because New York, I think New York will be the next place to, because New York City will probably start losing population. New Jersey will be a swing state, and then Maryland and Delaware and DC, because of the high black population in those states, will still be Democrat states. So yeah, swing states will still exist, but the whole Midwest, because of the Amish and the religious, will just become the new big stronghold of America. Again, conservatism. And of course, we have these 3 states out uncertain futures. And of course, California stays the same. I don't think California is going to be as well. I think Oregon is going to become a liberal state, because you got to realize the greater Idaho thing is going to be an actual reality. So Oregon's going to stay. Actually, we're going to add 1 to Idaho because of Greater Idaho movement. And we're going to remove 1 from Oregon. Let's just say the Greater Idaho movement, because of the Greater Idaho movement, basically, And Oregon, screw you, Yatmans. Screw you, Yatmans. But yeah, basically, I make my point. Basically, the Midwest will become a conservative bastion. Other than that, I don't really see that much changes on the map besides Florida becoming basically the next Texas. The only states that are uncertain would be the New Mexico, Arizona, the border states as well. But atheism, even either way, is basically will likely be dying as well. Even if Christians and evangelicals have less. But if America goes down the way of Christian nationalism, this is gonna be the end of liberal America. I think the end of liberal America is coming. Okay, the boomers created the America we have now. Okay, we all know this. The boomers, all the liberal stuff that we have in our schools and stuff, all the liberal stuff that is talked about by the media and stuff, is because of the boomers' hippie movements, basically, as well. And I think the consequences of the boomers, right, there's a whole video about it made by What If Autists about the consequences of the boomers and how they basically wrote the history books, basically how the great the generation is. Evil, they're not that great. But again, the boomers, we all know the boomers. And there's going to be a massive retirement crisis. There's going to be a massive retirement crisis in this decade. Okay, and then we're going to have a lost decade. That's what everybody is literally predicting. We're going to have a lost decade because of the retirement crisis. And then, of course, as the atheists have less and less kids and the liberals have less and less kids, you're going to see some surprising swings in some states towards conservatism. I think Indiana will be a conservative state for probably 100 years. Ohio will be a safe conservative state. Pennsylvania will eventually become a conservative state because of the Amish and the conservatives. Because most of Pennsylvania is conservative. And as Philadelphia loses people, as a lot of urban populations start to contract with people, because of low birth rates, especially if an immigration moratorium is passed if a conservative president passes the immigration moratorium as well. Basically, because if you do not know, immigration is becoming quickly one of the bigger issues of 2024. So let's assume the immigration moratorium is passed. Well, a lot of these cities, because of low birth rates, is going to decline. Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. And the states I think are going to continue increasing will be Florida, South Carolina, another pretty conservative state, North Carolina. I think South Carolina will stay the same. Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana's of the world, Texas. Texas is the question mark still, but but we're gonna have a new conservative bastard of America in the future, okay, because of the birth rates, and that's gonna be the Midwest, okay. And I think it's gonna be something. It's something that's gonna slowly happen over time. I think by the end of my lifetime, you're going to see it start to happen. Wisconsin's gonna vote on par with Alabama and Indiana. Indiana's gonna be like a plus 30 Republican state. Ohio is. I think the states will be a vastly different country than it is now. And we all know it's going to be happening, as well. We're going to have this decade, which is in 2030 and 2040, what's going to be like the pretty bad ones. And then we're going to have 2050, 2060, and 2030s as well. We're also going to have all the advances in technology, so people are going to be living longer. They're going to probably find a way to increase reproductive childbearing years as well, the best ones as well, extending our lifespans and stuff. No, I know I'm not talking about post-human bullcrap, like the whole mind uploading and stuff as well. But yeah, I think secularism in America is gonna be dying in the future. That's gonna be obvious as well. The birth rates are going to crash into an all-time low because, of course, a lot of Americans currently are atheists, are agnostic or don't even believe in God. Those people, of course, having the lowest birth rate in America besides Asians and East Asians, which could get their own video and their own. Actually, I made their own video about the East Asians as well. But yeah, East Asians having the lowest birth rate in the entire world, well, it's pretty bad, essentially, for them. Especially China, Japan, Korea, as well. East Asians having the lowest in the world is pretty bad for them as well. And I'm not going to talk about the future racial demographics of America, because that's something that's probably always gonna change over time. The racial demographics of America is always going to change over time. It's always going to be different over time. Okay, it depends on which faction wins. Is going to really affect the racial demographics of America. Go, I can't really predict that. Okay, I can't really predict that. Okay, I tried to do in October and it's just impossible. Okay, because you have basically two factions. You have the, you know, which could be explained, but yeah, you have the liberal, immigration, and then you have the America, the 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 right wing American people, and you have those two people, the basically the preservationists, okay, the Great Replacement people, basically, though the people who talk about the Great Replacement theory and stuff on those very those and stuff, and of course you have the open borders people. Those two types of people, the people who will talk the Great Replacement theory and the people who will talk about open borders. Though it's basically a war between those two, okay, and I'm not gonna. I don't know who's gonna win. Obviously, I'm not. I don't have a crystal ball, but one of them is gonna win over the other. And is going to decide the future of America as well. Well, and both could possibly lead to balkanization of the United States. Balkanization of the United States as well. Well, but yeah, that's all political, cultural war stuff. So I'm not going to talk about it any longer as well. But yeah, so yeah, that is yeah. And I think you're going to see a demographic decline in several states. Okay. Okay, so the screen had to be flipped for this. But yeah, I think we're going to see a decline in California, obviously. New York. Okay. Illinois. Well, it's already losing people. Okay. You're going to see an increase in population in Idaho, Florida, Texas. Okay, these are going to be the big ones. South Carolina, North Carolina. Okay. And you see a decline in West Virginia until it levels out, but you're gonna see a decline. You're gonna see these are gonna be yellow states that are gonna stay stagnant: Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and Minnesota. I think Minnesota, yeah, as well. But and yeah, we know the Northeast is gonna continue losing people. The Northeast, okay, even Massachusetts. Okay, it's an extremely secular portion of America. Okay, you know, but yeah, and New Jersey's gonna be losing people as well, and Pennsylvania because of Philly losing people as well. But what states will be gaining people? Well, Utah will be gaining people, uh, as well. Utah will be gaining people. Georgia will gain people, especially as Atlanta becomes basically the black center of America. You're gonna have a lot of black people from Illinois, Chicago, Pennsylvania, and of course New York and California moving to Atlanta, most likely. Uh, Tennessee gaining people, the Dakotas as well, and Oklahoma gaining people. Okay, these are the states that will be gaining people as well. And I think Delaware, because for some reason people want to move to Delaware, even though there's nothing interesting in Delaware. And of course Nevada because of because Las Vegas, the economic opportunities that Las Vegas provides as well. But I think you go, despite no matter which faction wins, I think you're going to see I think if you're going to see a stagnant states of America. Yeah, pun intended. Maryland's gonna be stagnant. Maryland has already been a stagnant state. Virginia's gonna probably keep growing. I think eventually these states will start growing again. Same thing with Kentucky. Same thing with Indiana, Missouri. These states, and Colorado will keep growing because people will be moving there. I think Oregon will lose people just because it loses all these counties. I don't think people are gonna want to be moving to Portland, and New Mexico is gonna be losing people. I think Arizona will reach a peak because of how dry Arizona is, but I think Arizona will probably continue growing, but it will not be growing as fast as it used to be anymore. But what about Alaska and Hawaii? Okay, I think Hawaii is gonna lose population. It's too expensive. Okay, that's just using the brain about Hawaii. It's too expensive, and Alaska. Who the hell wants to live in Alaska? Okay, but yeah, I think the reasons that will be declining will be the Midwest, and of course, no, the Northeast, California, Illinois, and then by 2100, that's through 24. That's until 2050. Okay, what about 2050 to 2100? Okay, I still think California's gonna be. I think California's gonna be stagnant at that point. Save of Illinois, save of New York. Okay, they'll be losing basically population. Portland, because you can only lose so many people before they start to change course, and that's what they're doing finally in Detroit. Okay, I think Florida will still be gaining people. I still think there's gonna be a decline in these areas unless there's a movement to get more people into the Northeast. Well, this entire part of the country will be losing people as well. I think Pennsylvania will have a stagnant population because the rural population is gonna grow, but for some reason the urban population is gonna decline. I think New Jersey, a lot of people will be moving to New Jersey from New York and Philadelphia, which will make the state more populated, even though it's already pretty overpopulated. I think the South, simply because of its weather, will be just and because of how high the birth rates are compared to the rest of the country, and Utah will continue gaining people. Idaho, because of the Greater Idaho movement and the conservatives simply having higher birth rates. But I think the Midwest by 2100 will have bounced back in population, even Minnesota. I think Minnesota, yeah, people moving to Minnesota, but people realize that Minnesota is a bad state. But same thing of West Virginia. West Virginia is going to eventually bottom out at some point and going to start increasing in population. Same thing of all these states and Colorado's still going to be gaining people because people are going to be moving to Colorado. No, and I think these states will stagnate in population as the world gets drier and drier and gets less and less water. Alaska's gonna start growing again because it'll get warmer by 2100. So Alaska's gonna be gaining more people, and Hawaii is gonna still be losing people. Yeah, because it's extremely expensive, and also Hawaii will have less land. And yeah, Maryland will probably start declining as well because of Baltimore. Because Baltimore is basically a failed city. Okay, but yeah, the Pacific Northeast will have a stagnant population, and Virginia will have a stagnant population. But I think by 2100, I think most of the country will be bouncing back. Okay, as well, and many states will still be stagnant. I think the Northeast will still be struggling quite a bit about that demographically. So I think that's gonna be I think Louisiana I think that's what put Louisiana as stagnant when we came to the last one, but whatever. Save for Mississippi, but again, Mississippi and Louisiana, it's basically based off birth rates and natural increases because no one moves to Mississippi and Louisiana. So yeah, I think once the birth rates start to increase again, Louisiana's population is going to increase again, Mississippi's population is going to increase again. So that is the future of America's birth rate. So of course, the future of America's demographics can always change, obviously, as well. But the secularization of America, I think, is going to reach a peak either this decade and this decade, and it's going to reverse course. We always started to see this with the Osprey revival, which was a big event that basically the media didn't really talk about outside of Christian channels and Christian YouTube channels as well. But yeah, basically because Christianity as a whole encourages large families, Amish and conservative groups typically have large families, it's only a matter of time before America becomes a conservative Christian nation. And really, the liberals have nothing but themselves to blame because they won't even have kids. Which, if you look at the atheist fertility rate, is pretty sad, of 1.3 children per woman, which shows that, yes, The low birth rate is mostly because of atheists and liberals not having kids. Because there are people in America having kids. For example, if you if you go somewhere, you definitely see a lot of people having kids. It's the atheists that are not having kids. For example, Illinois is like 40%, 40 to 50% atheist. Half the population in Illinois are not even having kids, or having or having one kid. Of course, that one kid can still have more kids and more kids. But if they're adopting the parents' values, which they usually do, they're not going to have kids either. So it's really a lose-lose situation. And as the conservatives have kids, those conservative kids will retain most of the, at least 30%, 30 to 80% of them will retain the conservative values. And those people have kids, and those people have kids, and those people have kids. So it's really a lose-lose situation as well. And yeah, that's basically about the video here. Goodbye.